Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Samp&Chance. I am Samson, Bobby Samson to be exact. And on the phone with me today, I have our co-host, Chance Michaels. How you doing, Chance?
I'm doing really well, man. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic, man. I'm really excited. Here we are, our very first podcast of many more to come. I just thought maybe we just let the listeners know what we're all about. We're a couple of West Coast guys living here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Every week we're going to come to you with a couple of podcasts, one around professional wrestling and another discussing boxing. Both will kind of look at the week events, upcoming events, where we'll look at some retro matches from both genres, and we will discuss all and any relevant news pertaining to both professions. Chance, what do you think, man? How do you feel about this?
I'm super excited to bring our takes, our opinions. You won't hear them anywhere else besides Chance Michaels and Bobby Sampson. We give a West Coast take to wrestling and boxing, the sports we love, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too, man. And thank you for joining me on this journey. And we also want to thank everyone who took the time here today to take some time out of their day and to listen to us. We know you have a lot of options out there. We know there's a lot of things that you could be doing, but hey, you know what? Thank you. And thank you for letting us into your ears. So that being said, our very first episode, we have Pacific Northwest professional wrestler, legend actually, Scotty Mac, joining us today. We did an interview with him last week, and we thought this would be a great podcast and a great interview to kind of launch everything that we're about to do. It was a really great conversation. We covered a lot of topics. Chance was there. Chance, what was your take from it?
It was a good podcast for our first one. I appreciate Scotty Mac giving us an hour and a half.
100%.
And it was really good, and I hope you guys all enjoy it, because we sure did.
Yeah, man, we covered everything, man. We covered everything that nobody wanted, that no one expected us to cover, or nobody expected Scotty to talk about or really make public. So, you know, a big shout out to Scotty and for giving us the time and for being open and allowing us to ask the questions that I think a lot of you guys that are listening to this are wanting to hear. So here we go. Scotty Mac, enjoy. Welcome to the very first episode of Samp&Chance. I am your host, Bobby Samson, and you will get to know my lovely chum, Chance Michaels. Chance, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, fantastic. And also a big thank you to our guest today, our very first guest, Scotty Mac. Thank you very much. We want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and everything that you got going on to give us the first interview for our very first episode.
Well, I enjoy the company of both of you, so it's really it's my pleasure as well.
Thanks a lot,
Much
man.
appreciated.
Do you remember when you first fell in love with the game? What was it? Do you still have that moment?
I have my first memories of watching wrestling, because when I started watching, all I could watch was what was on Saturday afternoons. I wasn't old enough. I was born in 78, so I wasn't old enough to stay up for WWE Superstars, obviously WWF at the time. Was on at 11 p.m. And then is it every month or every 2 months? Saturday Night Live was replaced by Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC, which started at 12:05. I certainly wasn't allowed to stay up and watch that usually. And when I did, I was stoked. And then NWA wasn't on until like 12 or 1 a.m.
on KST W11.
Oh, there we go. You're oldest. You got to watch.
Actually, this is my thing, because at that time, Saturday was WWE at 11.
Yeah.
And then at 12 o'clock on the American channel, Channel 13 was WWE. Channel 21, I think it was, which was the Washington station,
Mm-hmm.
is now the CW, did the NWA. And then on Sundays, you got PWF.
We didn't have PWF.
Which was like, it was like Mississippi's, like one of the territories.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I totally get it. But I wasn't allowed to watch it either. I would sneak and just turn the volume to 1.
Good.
So I could watch.
Good. It's good. That's what you do. What you got to do. I mean, there was, but like before, like when pay-per-views first got to Canada, like the States had pay-per-views way longer than we did, and then when they came on, it was like, unless you had a scrambler black box, you had to get, usually you probably had to get your parents to order you the pay-per-view. They didn't want to order you every pay-per-view. So if I didn't get to watch a pay-per-view, I'd literally sit there for 3 hours and watch it scrambled.
Oh yeah, every once in a while you get the little.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I can think of a different kind of entertainment that was also worth watching through the scrambles. But
every once in a while you would get a little shot of that too.
That's right.
We call that the deviant art, I believe.
But yeah, so I just it was there was local wrestling on BCTV. So
studio wrestling, the Frog,
like all star, the Frog, Buddy Wayne, Michelle Starr, Tim Flowers, Vicious Vern,
every Saturday 1 p.m.
Yeah, and then there was the Stampede was on, and then there was it was called Maple Leaf Wrestling, which was just the Canadian version of the WWE show, and then there was a show called WWE Cavalcade that was on at 3 sometimes, but it was like a big deal when I got to stay up for like the only time the only thing I remember specifically from getting to stay up and watching an NWA episode was when Ric Flair thought he was going over to get with Jimmy Garvin's chick,
Baby Doll.
Yeah, was it? And there was like an indoor pool, and Jimmy Garvin was dressed up as Baby Doll, and then Flair goes to make a move, and he throws Flair in the pool.
He had the beard and from behind,
And but Saturday afternoon, WWE. I remember seeing Hercules. He was Hercules Hernandez at the time in the that brown. It was really an ugly brown sort of gladiator type outfit. Much better when he had the just the trunks and the chain around.
They kind of made him look like John Gonzalez in the same kind of costume.
I much prefer the chain, to the point where if I ever encountered a chain, as you do sometimes just in life, it was really difficult not for me to put it around my neck or swing it around my head like Hercules. Much like to this day, like if there was a pair of garden shears over there, I would pick up those garden shears and I would strut like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and like still I'm 43 years old. I would still do that. I've tag teamed with the man, wrestled the man. He's cut my hair. I would still pick up those shears.
I was there for that in Abbotsford.
I love it. Love to hear that.
That was good.
That was good, right? It was me and Beefcake teamed up against the Bollywood Boys.
Yeah, it was cool.
And the Bollywood Boys got the win, and I got to blame my childhood favorite wrestler. Like I'd say probably until about 91 or 92, Beefcake was like my all-time fave. And then when Shawn turned on Marty, Shawn Michaels became my favorite. I love Bret Hart, love Mr. Perfect.
Interesting that Beefcake and Shawn were there when he made that transition.
I know, right? I know.
It's almost
and like that's like the biggest turn ever, like the biggest like tag teams. Like what's more like that the barbershop window was just the best.
That was so cool. So cool.
And it's funny because at the time, like I was such a Rockers fan. Like I knew Michaels was always my favorite Rockers, but Michaels and Jannetty together, I thought they were great. And when they shook hands, I was like, okay, no, they're good. They're good. I thought they were gonna break up, but turns out, you know what? They're all right. They're good. And then Heenan say, it was funny. And then when Michaels super kicked him, and then Heenan's like, I knew he was gonna do that. He doesn't beat Jannetty. Yeah. And then he threw him through the window, and then Jannetty was trying to escape. and then I also have a memory of seeing Ted DiBiase. So it would have been 88. I mean, obviously, I for some reason I just really remember he did that the first time I saw him. He bounced the gentleman's, whoever he was wrestling, his legs on the top rope, then went into a vertical suplex.
Didn't Tully do that too?
I think, yeah.
It was Tully.
Again, I told
Yeah,
you
yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't allowed to stay up.
Yeah,
Watch
no,
the
Tully,
Tully again,
yeah, so Tully, that was one of his moves. He would actually like to springboard the suplex.
DiBiase would do it as well. And then the first WrestleMania I watched was WrestleMania 2. It was rented for me, so it would have been like months and months after.
They usually came out 3 months after.
Yeah, but it was like, it was, the only reason I got to was because my stepdad Jim, he had a cousin named Bob that liked wrestling. So at the time, it's like when a grown up liked wrestling, you're like, oh, right on.
Now you're set.
Yeah, like my great grandma liked wrestling. So when I got to stay over there, that was one of the times that I got to watch Saturday Night's Main Event. Actually, the first time I got to watch Saturday Night's Main Event, and it was the one where it was the beginning of the Savage Steamboat feud going into Mania 3.
Yeah.
And when he took the ring bell, or first he draped him on the guardrail.
Yeah.
Did the double axe handle from the top. And Steamboat's throat cell was so good. And then threw him in the ring, brings the ring bell in, does the elbow from the top with the ring bell, and then they're like, and then so Steamboat's in the back, and they're like, we're getting the report from the back. They've had to put a tube in Ricky Steamboat's neck in order for him to breathe. Like they had me hook, line, and sinker.
Do you remember the promos after leading up, like built to the build up to their match? Steamboat sold it so well. Like just the diction, everything, the way he spoke. Like he did a really good job, man.
And then went on to have obviously one of the greatest matches of all time. Anybody that knows anything about wrestling, I think it would be hard to argue. At the same time, I will say, much like Stone Cold Steve Austin was disappointed when he heard this. I remember hearing him say that. I was disappointed to hear that Savage had it mapped out from start to finish.
Oh, everything.
And I guess that was normal for Savage in his matches. And and hats off to him, because if I didn't know that, I wouldn't have been able to like tell. And I think I can tell when matches are worked out from start to finish. Like I can usually tell that from when there's more improv or spontaneity or whatever. And I prefer, obviously there's certain spots like, that we know we want to get in or whatever. And we know what the finish is. But I still want it to look like a fight, not a dance. And the fact that Steamboat and Savage can have like arguably the greatest match of all time. I don't know if it's still up there for people these days, but I guess in my world it is. But to not know that was mapped out from start to finish, hats off to them for that.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Yeah, no, I was just thinking, about what you were saying, and this one thought came to my mind. I don't know if you ever think about this, or if you ever watch a show, like old shows this way. I went back with every big major four. As many times as I've seen them, I like to build up to the next one by watching all the old ones and go from one all the way. Right? Maybe not all of them, but my favorites. I was watching Royal Rumble 92 recently. And
I've watched it several times.
And I'm watching it and I'm like, he's not here anymore. He's not here anymore. Like even referees. Like do you ever watch shows like that with that kind of nostalgia? Well, no, I watch more. I honestly I watch more wrestling from the 90s than anything else. Like when I work at the bar, if wrestling's on, I'll put it on the TVs. And that's kind of how I keep up with it without sitting down and watching the shows, because the last time I sat down and watched a full show with sound and everything, and that was just totally tuned in, was AEW Dynamite about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago with Robert Mitchell. And I was popping huge. I was and this is like, I'm someone, I like,
as much as like I can suspend my disbelief and enjoy, you know, like even like when guys were doing like fireballs and whatever, and I didn't a lot, or like the slow motion spot, like LP would do, you know, in like slow motion chops.
Yeah.
And in a way, like some people would think, okay, well, it's burying the business, because it's like it's really hard to think that you're in a real fight if you're all of a sudden doing this slow motion spot or whatever. But Orange Cassidy is so fucking entertaining.
He's so fucking original.
Yeah,
Oh, he's awesome.
And
Yeah,
he's just and like, it's like I don't know, I don't know much about him. I don't know who inspired him, but besides maybe the Fonz. I'm probably dating myself by fucking referencing the Fonz. But he just
remember when he jumped over the shark?
But that's literally where that came, where that cliche came from. And thankfully Orange Cassidy hasn't jumped the shark. And he's still really fucking entertaining. He looks like he's getting in better shape, but at the whole thing, like, and so it was Orange Cassidy and I don't remember his partner's name. She is the
Chris Statlander, is that it? Chris Statlander, so. I think it's her.
Taller.
Yeah, she's tall. She's a big, like, stocked and built. I think it's Chris Statlander
against Britt Baker and
the British
Cole.
That was the mix up. So Statlander against
and I was so entertained, and it's not something that is like normally my cup of tea, but it was so well done by all four of them, especially like see, I'm laughing right now even thinking about it. It was that when Britt Baker stood nose to nose with Orange Cassidy, and he starts giving her these kicks to the shin, and I was just like, holy shit, like I was popping so hard, and then she stomped on his foot and he sold that like it was like he got shot in the foot. And it was just, and then the finish with where he ends up going into kind of like the Mega Powers in Elizabeth when Elizabeth got knocked off the apron to the floor, but different because she got knocked off the apron through the table. Adam Cole made sure he got the win first, but then went out and made sure she was cool and was like super protective and like telling the referees like, get away, get your hands off her. And so it's like, for me personally, as a guy that's been with several girls in wrestling, like in tag teams, or like if I'm managing them or whatever, if we're supposed to, if she's supposed to be like my love interest, that's what I think I would like to do too. She got bumped off the apron through the table, but I'm worried about her, but still she's probably pretty tough. So I'll hit a super kick. I'll get the 3, then I'll go make sure she's okay. And so I like that about the finish too.
Well, she kind of proved herself. Did you see her?
Yeah. Rosa Mendez.
Not Rosa. No. Thunder Rosa.
That's it.
That was her Stone Cold moment.
And good for them. She was mentioned there was a chance we were gonna bring her to Paraguay when we were there for Luchando, but it didn't end up happening. But Rosa
Thunder,
Thunder Rosa, and then Jake the Snake Roberts was back with Lance Archer, and who's the other gentleman with them?
Lance
Archer, Jake the Snake Roberts, and then there's a third guy.
Older?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Dan. It's the guy from American Top Team.
Dan Lambert.
Okay. So I again very entertained. I think
that dude's hilarious, eh?
That's wicked promos.
Yeah.
I love Jake the Snake Roberts. The older I get, the longer I'm in wrestling, the more wrestling I watch, the more I appreciate how good Jake is in
Phil.
every way.
Yeah.
And I'm so stoked that he's in a place where he's healthy and he's contributing to the business.
Thank you, DDP.
And yeah, big time. And I think
Yeah.
there's quite
Scott
a few
Hall.
guys that more than even just them.
No, for
from what I
sure, for
understand.
sure.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna just take this off a little bit here for a second, and I'm gonna put over DDP.
Do it.
Because he's got to be one of the best dudes out there. It was the Agriplex in Cloverdale,
Mhm.
and I think it was either our Halloween Hell show in October or our anniversary show in like April or May. We already had Val Venus and the Godfather booked as our fly-ins, because we would do like before ECCW had, for the listeners and viewers that don't know, I own what remains of Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling. I'm not sure quite what remains.
Well,
but
this might be the time where if I may intervene.
Sure.
I think the one thing that a lot of people want to know, there's a lot of people who are going to want to know this. And Scotty, tell us about the fall of ECCW.
You just throwing it down, eh?
Let's do it.
Okay. And then I'll bring this back up with DDP.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, tell us how long you were an owner for and how you became an owner. Then talk about the demise of it.
All right.
How you
Well, okay.
got
Here we go.
yeah,
Quick version. I started training with a company in Alberta called Can-Am Wrestling with Steve Gillespie, Steve Wild, and Otto, who's Steve Wild and Otto are still there. Otto's Vinny Fever, and like a discotheque.
Yeah.
And both awesome dudes. And Steve Gillespie's since passed, but those three guys were the first three that ever the first wrestling ring I ever got in. The first bump I ever took was in a Can-Am ring. And so then I lived in Edmonton for a year, moved back to BC because I was raised in BC. Started training with ECCW. I went to the top pretty quick, and then at the same time,
What year are we talking here?
2000.
Okay.
And so I shot up by 2001. I was like the top guy because the vets left, the other top guys, personal demons, other opportunities, whatever, disagreements with management. So all of a sudden I'm like, everything's on me.
Mm.
By 2005 or so, I ended up I had the pencil for the women's division because I had a good rapport with the women's division, and then I kind of had some influence on my own creative stuff. And then by like 2008, I was booking the whole shows with my friend Jeff, who went from really obnoxious fan, if you ask most of the locker room, to a close friend of mine. And then by 2000, that would have been 2006 or 7, and then 2008 I believe is when we bought it. So it was myself and as majority owner, and then Jeff and wrestler Jamie Diaz's mother Mary, she bought in as well, and so it was now belonged to the three of us. And speaking of, we brought up the everything that's been going on, and the sort of the world the last 2 years has been unprecedented, obviously in our lifetimes at least. And it was the Great Awakening, and it was actually good timing, because when everyone was sitting around bored at home in the first lockdown, wrestling went through its own Me Too movement, if you will. And you know, I'm all for getting creeps and perverts and rapists and everything out of wrestling and everywhere else for that matter, libraries, Safeways, whatever. No time or patience for that. But bottom line is, my former partner and our friendship had, you know, we turned out we had very different viewpoints on very important and fundamental things. And so our friendship was strained towards the end of the ownership period anyways. But there was accusations made that he made people feel uncomfortable, and there was a text sent, and unfortunately in the process my company got dragged through the mud, my name got dragged through the mud. There's suggestion like there was going to be dirt on me, and that's just not the case. If I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. If there's ever been a girl in my bed, it's because she really wants to be there. If she doesn't really want to be there, I don't want her there. There's another girl that really wants to be there, so that's fine. It's never hurting for it. So I really wasn't worried about myself, because when you haven't done anything wrong, you don't really get worried. But and I wasn't going to apologize for anyone else, because I don't apologize for anyone else. I'll apologize for myself, but what someone else does is not what I do, and it's not up to me to take responsibility for that.
Mm-hmm.
So as ECCW, there was a statement made that said, you know, one of the owners, there's accusations made. He's since gone. We won't be commenting on it further. People really didn't like that we won't be commenting on it further part, because they saw it as shutting down the conversation. In reality, it was nothing good was going to come of going back and forth with people about something that had been dealt with.
Well, that's the thing. It was
swiftly.
dealt with. Yeah.
Exactly. And but there was a serious lack of I guess guts and a lack of support, where there are people that know me well enough to know that it's not like I was aware of the questionable behavior that was taking place and just ignoring it. I knew as much as anyone else. And with the younger wrestlers, I wasn't bothered by the fact that they were like, you know, saying, you know, Scotty Mac coolies didn't do anything, because they didn't know me that well, and they got their whole future ahead of them. And it's like, I want them to be successful. I don't want them to suffer for being associated with a company that you know, that's embroiled in controversy. But there's wrestlers that have been around for a while that know that that could add my back, and they didn't. So I don't have as strong of a relationship with a lot of the wrestlers in the Pacific Northwest as I once did. But so
question for you: Did your former owner, did he make a statement? Did he release a public statement? Or
yeah. At one point he did, and it didn't really matter, because because everyone had made up their mind about him, and everyone in wrestling around here made it clear that that they wouldn't want, like, even if like I got rid of him, it's like, it's not like there was another locker room he was going to go to or something. Like, no, everyone just
blackballed.
Yeah. And that's fine or whatever. But bottom line is, last year was would have been our 25th. It was our 25th year.
Yeah.
So it sucks, because I was going to do a special 25th anniversary show and all that. This would be our 26th year. I'm not saying that ECCW doesn't exist, but at the same time, I spent the majority, like not the majority. I spent my whole adult life, like I spent half my life devoted to my wrestling company and putting it before everything else in my life. I put it before girls. I put it before my friends and family. Maybe not my friends, but I put it before my family. I put it before birthdays, weddings, all that shit. And I have no regrets. But it sucks to do that for, you know, over 20 years and something I like my proudest professional accomplishment. It's not even any match I've had. It's what we did at the Commodore 13 times. It's selling out the Commodore, this legendary, you know, concert venue in one of the greatest cities in the world, and we filled it up over and over, and it was electric every single time.
Yeah, some good shows out there, man. I enjoyed that.
It was so and everyone knew when you were going to a ballroom brawl, you were getting a killer night of entertainment. And I would always say, like, I'll put a ballroom brawl up against any live entertainment in the city. I don't care what it is. I don't care if WWE was in town. The ballroom brawl, the energy in there that we had from start to finish every single time, and that's a combination of me and the talent and the people that like help us and the people at the Commodore and Live Nation and the wrestling fans around here. You know, if I can put that aside for a minute, there was plenty that when I was going through this shit seemed to revel in the fact that they got to hate me for real a little bit, and it was weird. That what stuck out was this Elmo meme of him in hell. He's like, ah, and it was like, you bought front row tickets to my shows over and over, and you're celebrating its demise? Like that's
weak.
No, for sure.
But whatever. Bottom line is, up until then, great fans, so responsive, so receptive. As much as I was giving in the ring or in my promo or whatever, they were giving back. And every time, there was literally like in 13 ballroom brawls. So like, let's say there's like 115 matches in 13 ballroom brawls. Like less than 5 were stinkers.
Yeah.
Like less than 5. Like that's a lot of good matches. Like it was,
100%.
and so very proud of what we did there. So it's unfortunate to have that tainted, but at the same time, when it was done, like when I was going off, you know, I think it's dead in the water. I remember having this feeling of peace and just being like, it could be all done and I'm okay. Like I'm fine. Like I'm not even, yeah, like I'm like, I love what we did. I love the experiences like that. That's the thing. I said this a few times, like in wrestling, like, oh shoot. Sorry, I just popped for something on the screen there. Lashley, he went over strong, eh?
Well, actually, so we got the Royal Rumble on the background, and Scotty's kind of watching it for the first time while we're doing this at the same time. So I'm just going to fill you in really quick.
Okay.
Swerve complete.
Yeah.
He was working with Brock and.
Oh, Heyman turned on. Oh.
So basically, watch. Here you go. You just watch it here. Here's the first bump. Boom.
Okay.
The ever so famous 10 count.
Yeah.
And from behind.
Oh.
But this is it right here. The swerve complete.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't have called that. Cool. That's cool. Okay, so where was it?
Right.
Selling at Commodore 13 shows, selling it out.
Yeah, so but, like when you get into wrestling, obviously this is that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to get signed by WWE. Obviously, I would love to be in a Royal Rumble. I would have loved to have wrestled at WrestleMania, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't always get everything you want. They did SmackDown once, that was cool. But
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that really quick, if I may.
you have to touch on it really quick because the match was really quick.
Oh, I believe you left the ring really fast, right? Or did you get
to bring that part up?
Yeah, hey man, it was a 3-on-1, wasn't it, against Khalid?
I'm just gonna. Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay.
It was
So, anyways, how was that experience growing up?
It was pretty surreal. It's actually at this point it's a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think even then I still hadn't quite figured myself out. Like I was getting there. I had turned heel, I think I'd been working heel for a few years, but it hasn't been, it wasn't until like, I guess probably the last, like, I think I matured late, as far as just in general.
What year are we talking here? What year did you do SmackDown?
2008
Okay.
was SmackDown. But it was I think I was already 30. So it was like, I'm already getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, they're going to sign me at 30. So yeah, but I hadn't figured it out yet. I didn't even completely know who I was yet. And, but no excuses. I mean, you get what you put in. And the whole point of this is that, despite not, achieving, everything I set out to, the things that you experience and achieve along the way, and just the the doors that it opened for me into movies and television commercials. And I've got the biggest movie I've ever been a part of coming up this summer, called Used Mercs, and it's got I think Kevin Sorbo is in it, who's Hercules, if you remember, and there's lots of names. So I'm stoked about that. And if it wasn't for wrestling, like, wrestling's what got me my first stunt. I was Ricky Schroeder's stunt double in a CMT movie called To the Mat. Terrible movie.
Horrible. Next thing you had the opportunity.
Yeah, but then there's other good stuff, like if you watch Date and Switch. I play El Cientifico Loco, and there's a YouTube clip called I think it's titled The Stephen Hawking of Wrestling, because I'm a paraplegic, in like a paraplegic luchador, which I guess at this point it would probably be frowned upon, because they didn't get an actual paraplegic to play.
The world we live in, man. The world we live in.
But he would like, let's be honest, he wouldn't have been able to do the spots I did.
No.
And so I would have had to be his double anyways. Yeah. This is controversial. All right. So, but watch the clip though. It's really good. Yes. So Stephen Hawking of professional wrestling.
So
Nice.
so you do your moment up north. You do your thing in New York, and
it was Spokane.
Spokane, Washington.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, there's three shows. It was the pay-per-view in
Everett?
Portland, and then Raw in Seattle, and then SmackDown in Spokane. They used us on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then I like, where I made my mark though was the Pacific Northwest. And when I say that I'm, the most decorated wrestler in the history of the Pacific Northwest, that's a shoot. I am. When I say I'm the most influential individual in the Pacific Northwest wrestling scene of this millennium, I am.
And now the most controversial.
I think it's out there.
There you go.
And I've literally wrestled one match in the Pacific Northwest in like, I don't know, a few years. and I'd still say I'm the most hated. So it's pretty good.
No, for sure.
Very
So I'm interested in this portion here. So you did your thing in Spokane, and then you come back to the indie scene.
Mm.
What's that transition like? Is it hard? Are you
Well, no,
motivated?
I wasn't there that long, but like, I
No, but
it-
in terms of just being in front of the crowd,
no, because it
the
was like,
size
no,
and
no,
the
no,
production and
no,
everything. No,
because I was just so proud of it. It was
Okay,
like,
okay.
and I didn't know what was going to come of it. Like, they like the unfortunate thing is when
motivation.
oh yeah, no, I was motivated for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to be better than ever for sure.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I got a shirt done, and it you know, it said as seen on WWE SmackDown, and then I had the K crossed out, so it was like SmackDown.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I ended up doing as my talk show later. And but no, I was stoked about it, and I just thought, like, okay, well, you know, I'll do better next time. Like, I'll get more out of it next time. Like, that was just the first, actually second, because I did a training camp at OVW like a couple of years previous to that.
Okay.
I was even less experienced then, and it was so overwhelming. It was just because you're like, wow, I'm at that step before what I always wanted. Like,
Who was there with you?
Nobody.
Okay.
It was guys from all over, and I don't even know if anybody got signed out of that. Thunder, there's a guy from Portland named Thunder. Him and I were we were buddies. I remember seeing Dolph Ziggler at the convenience store near where everyone was staying.
Mm-hmm.
But he was already signed and everything. I just saw him in there. But it was just it's like the people that I've gotten to know really well, that have gone from, you know, ECCW and other indies to WWE or AEW. They really, and I've said this so many times, it wasn't their first priority, it was their only priority.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking girls at 18, 19 flying from other continents for the purpose. Kyle O'Reilly going to the States and just to work the indies and get experience with Davey Richards and Tony Kazina, two of the best, well, obviously the three of the best I've ever been in the ring with. And you know, there's no safety net for Kyle there. Like, he went and gave it his all, and he's like, I'm, you know, because people would call the Pacific Northwest the black hole of professional wrestling, because like up until recently, the only stars to make it out of here were like Earthquake John Tenta and Velvet McIntyre before him.
What about Roddy Piper? He's an Oregon guy.
Yeah, but we're talking like BC. Yeah, fair.
Oh, sorry, when I think
Portland guys, fair.
Pacific Northwest.
Fair. Okay, fair enough.
But
But as far as like
Western Canada. BC. This is BC.
Yeah. And I mean, on one hand, WWE didn't come through here like as much, and then like and NWA didn't come here at all, and so yeah, the guys out east did get seen more, but it's still no excuse. The bottom line is the people, the Bollywood boys.
Yeah.
They took chances,
Mm-hmm.
and they made it their only priority. So like I played it safe in that when I was dating Tennille when she got signed, and at one point it was like, okay, well, like before she got signed, it was like, okay, well, are we, you know, we're both gonna go to Florida and try to make it, kind of thing. And then they were selling ECCW, and it was like, okay, do I go to Florida and then not have anything to come back to, or do I stay here and buy ECCW? And but I think it was probably the safe bet. But and I'm not one to live with regrets.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, who knows if I had made a different decision, how that would have gone. But again, it comes back to me going, I know, like, even if I was like, I've got 7 shows this month with Can-Am Wrestling in and around Calgary. I've got we're doing some shows in outdoor shows again, the family shows in Aldergrove, starting again in May. So I'm not done wrestling yet.
Okay.
Maybe
You give us some more information on those shows so we can get the
oh,
word out to the
I'd
people, man.
love to. I'd love to. But even if I was done, like, even if I was like, I wake up tomorrow and I'm just like, I can't go, you know, like, what I've done, I'm stoked about. I made my mark. I like the people I've helped, and I always wanted to see everybody succeed. That's something I can. Anybody that knows me well knows that it was always about the whole show. As much as I love the spotlight, and as much as I love, I want to have match of the night. I want to be the most over, whether it's baby or heel, but not at the cost of anyone else, and not in any way that I wouldn't be proud of. And so it was always about, I don't want to go see a wrestling show that has 1 or 2 good matches. I want to go see a wrestling show that is really great start to finish. And I think that's probably what we all want, right?
Yeah.
And so if I was to be selfish and to put myself in positions to look good and other people to not, then I'm not giving the fans what they're paying for, which is a great wrestling show from start to finish.
Right.
And so I'm proud of that. As much as maybe I had a reputation of someone with a big ego, I didn't let that get in the way of good wrestling shows.
I found just throughout my time with wrestling, guys like yourself, as you've described, John Cena's, the Triple H's, same kind of values. They also get that same kind of heat, I find, that of not wanting to put people over or only
I put everybody over.
See, that's the thing. That's the perception. They don't realize that, how many times you have put guys over. I've seen you put guys over, or
just even, I could make it so I'm like, super tough and I never look stupid, but I make myself look stupid all the time, and it's fun, and the fans get a lot out of it if I look stupid, because I'm so
a lot of it's jealousy too, right? A lot of jealousy.
But and then too, it's that much more satisfying if I am this cocky prick, and maybe I think I have a reason to be, that when I look like an ass, then the fans get that much more satisfaction out of me.
Absolutely.
No. I remember at the RCC the night you turned face. That was pretty cool.
There was that probably,
it was a ladder match or something. I think you had a ladder match.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That
was it was yes, good call. Yeah, it was Sid Silem and I were in the same faction, and the other 2 guys in the match was Kenny Lush and El Phantasmo, who's doing very well with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I can't say enough good things about LP. He's incredible in the ring, amazing to work with.
I remember he's phenomenal. I was introduced to him because I was up in the balcony that night. That was when he was doing a spot where he was up there.
Yeah.
So he was saying, "Hold my hand." I'm like, all right. So that was my introduction to LP.
Right on.
I held him up until
awesome.
he was ready for his spot.
Oh, cool. But he's a wicked dude, and I just saw him a few weeks ago, and he's despite being in the cliche big in Japan, he's more down to earth than ever. He's really good dude, and really deserves all the success he has.
Yeah.
So
it was a great work out there.
Very much, and it was the 4 of us in a ladder match, and the reason I did turn face was because Sid Silem and my manager turned on me and left me left me laying, and so yeah, that was the baby face turn. Yeah, good. I didn't know if it was that or there's this other time at the RCC it was with ice and the fans. It was heel versus heel, and it was like by the end, like we were already turning me face, but because it was heel versus heel, the fans got behind me, and then we didn't really have to do much else.
No, it's just
Yeah.
How's your body feeling after all these years, all the bumps and bruises and falls, man? Tell me how your body.
You know what? That's a very very good and relevant question for right now, because I really am feeling it quite a bit. Like especially being like not being in the ring, like to go, to go. I'm at 2.5 years now where I've literally only had four matches in 2.5 years, because I tore my ACL. It was like, I think the day before Canada Day in 1999. And then, so I'm injured. And then I was supposed to come back in April 2020, which was the lockdown started in March. It was supposed to be me and Dropkick Murphy in his first match back, teaming up with two of our like heroes. We when we first started wrestling, we loved the Rocket Randy Tyler and the Ladies' Choice, and we wanted to be. It was
Those
like,
guys are awesome.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, Dropkick, Scotty, who out of this locker room, who do you guys want to hang with? Who do you want to be on the road with? Who do you want to go to Vegas with? We would have said the Rocket and the Ladies' Choice, and we got exactly what we wanted, which is very cool. But yeah, so to go this, like, just to have, like, I've been in the ring training. I've got a 15-year-old student named Jonathan and his dad Trent, and they're awesome dudes. And they both had their first matches. Jonathan had his first 2 matches back in October at this family show in Aldergrove, and it's called Loft Country Wrestling. And so we'll be having a show in May. So keep an eye out for that. But Jonathan's really good for 15, and wow, he's really good, period. And his dad's great, and he's Sheriff T, and really, really good dudes. And so I've been out there training with them, but I am feeling it. And I'm really trying to stay away from the last thing I need is to be dependent on anything for the pain. And so I try to just keep it to like an Advil once in a while. But I'm feeling it. When I have and sometimes I'm ridiculous. I'll be at training and I shouldn't. The things I'll do, it's just there's 5 of us in there, and I got Jonathan, firing up on me with these punches, and because we were having this little mock battle royal, and I'm backed up by the ropes, and I have him give me a shot, and I go back over the top rope into the floor, and it's the old WCW ring, because WCW did a video game here in Vancouver in like 2000 or something. And so probably, yeah, one of those, yeah. It very well might have been. So I ended up buying that WCW ring. So that's like the 4-foot high one. And then indies, sometimes you got a 2-foot high ring because you're working in buildings that have a low ceiling and you want to be able to do top rope spots. Mm-hmm. And if you got a 4-foot high, like if the canvas is 4 foot high, and then it's like another, 4 feet to the top rope. And if that's a low ceiling, we've been in buildings where we get on the top rope and we're like this, like literally
extra support.
Yeah. But you're not getting a lot of height on those.
No, not at all. But
yeah, no, I'm hurting. I'm hurting when I train hard. Like I went for a run today, and because with the weather, because I like to start most of my days with a run, if not at least every second day. But yeah, I was feeling it, and I still am. So I'm going to be working hard for the next 2 weeks leading up to my Can-Am shows in Alberta, which was the company I started with.
Yeah, full circle.
Cool. Yeah. And
how can fans out there get to these shows if they want to? Is there anything you?
There's a Facebook group for Can-Am Wrestling. Can-Am Wrestling's on Twitter. and they're very good about their Facebook posts, and I'll be teaming up with the Blue Collar Baddie, and so I think we're in a tag team tournament.
Okay, cool.
And so he's I think he's 26.
Okay.
So
You ever
needless
work
to
with him?
say, he's going to be doing all the work in the match.
Okay, cool.
Are you talking about Edge or the Miz?
Either or.
I have never actually. No, I met Edge as a fan. When Edge and Christian were they were super over there doing
The 5-minute pose,
Yeah.
5-second pose.
5-second pose. Or was it 5 seconds?
5 seconds, yeah.
Seconds? Yeah. So there's a cool picture of me and Patrick Corey, doing the pose with Edge and Christian on the streets of Vancouver.
Nice.
Great picture. And but as far as the Miz goes, I was fortunate enough to do an episode of Supernatural with him.
Oh, okay.
It was an episode with wrestling in it, obviously, and so they got a hold of me, and they're going to use my ring and some of my some of the merch, for the merch table, all that, to set up like a little indie show.
Mm-hmm.
The Ladies' Choice was in that as well. The Ladies' Choice was wrestling the Miz, and then Paul Lazenby was wrestling an actor that we gave a bit of training to, and I was the technical advisor on the episode. So
Okay.
I got to put together the matches for Lazenby and his opponent, and then the Miz against the Ladies' Choice.
Okay.
And the Miz had already main evented WrestleMania at this point. It had already been WWE champion. And obviously his gimmick, he's full of himself like a lot of wrestlers. And much like, I think people are probably surprised sometimes when they get to know me that maybe they might think I'm a jerk initially, or like just by looking at me like, oh, he's probably an asshole or something. And then I'd like to think pleasantly surprised. And it was kind of like that with Miz, and I don't want to say like I was going to be, I was being judgmental or anything, but at the same time going in, I'm thinking I'm choreographing a match for the former WWE champion and WrestleMania main eventer. Why is the Miz going to listen to me on what to do in his match on Supernatural?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is he was wicked. Like, he didn't, no ego at all. He didn't question anything. He didn't like
Nice.
big time me at all. He was like, he was great to work with. Really just seemed like a cool dude, and really great experience. I was the referee. You'll see. I was the referee in the match between the Miz and Ladies' Choice.
A lot, throughout this conversation, we've talked about a lot of different talents.
Yes.
And a lot of these guys have come through here and have gone on, and because of that, being able to meet a lot of these really cool guys before they got to where they're at. As an owner, as a promoter, as a wrestler, and in some cases, maybe as a friend, how do you feel? Like, is it a proud pop-up moment when you see these guys get up there?
Oh, very much.
And like, what's your takeaway from all of it? Like, dude, there's so many names. There are so many names.
Yeah,
that people don't realize. Like, Daniel Bryan came through here.
Yeah, I mean, but that's one where he was. I mean, he was establishing himself as one of the top indie guys when he did come through.
Right.
It was. There's others that like, I would, like, I think my proudest is that just to have played a part in Becky Lynch's journey, and then for her to get to main event WrestleMania and be the first woman's main event in WrestleMania. Like, because if you ask me, I'm telling you, like, if you ask me 10 years ago or more, if I ever thought women would main event WrestleMania, not a chance. And I'm not slagging anybody off. Like,
No,
you
no.
know, like, and again, the girls that are deserve it, and I don't question it. And I love that Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch that night affirmed and confirmed why they were in that spot. They were they deserved that main event. It was I loved it. And so yeah, so that's that was probably that's my probably my proudest that I feel like I've had a big impact on the journey. And
Was this was this before or after she left and came back, or was this before, you know what I mean? Because she took a break for a while. She kind of stepped back, I believe.
Oh, it was
at one point.
she was here before. I met her when I was wrestling in Ireland.
Okay.
She was 18, and
Okay.
then
She was a flight attendant at one point, right?
yes, that's
Yeah.
when she took the time off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then she spent a couple of years out here. She was the first ECCW women's champion.
Wow, check that out.
And
Pretty
then is that or had we declared it vacant? It was. Anyways, tonight's Rumble actually had 3 women that had held the ECCW Women's Champion on it. There was Becky, of course, she was in that match with Doudrop.
Yeah.
And then both Natalia and Ivory.
Yeah.
Were ECCW. It was called the Supergirls Championship. That's, I guess, that's maybe where I got confused. First Supergirls champion, but then it ended up just
The
being called
women's
the Women's
championship, kind of like the Divas Championship.
Yes.
And it went
yes.
back to the women's title.
Yes.
Yeah.
But and then it was super cool to see the Bollywood boys make it, and to see Kyle make it, and to see LP make it. Obviously, those would be the big ones that I know that, you know, it was a big part of their journey.
The big part of their journey. Yeah. What about Tyler Breeze?
The cool thing was Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze was from the Okanagan, but he ended up training in Alberta with Storm, and then he spent some time here, like wrestling. I got to know him, cool, and you know, he slept on this floor.
Yeah.
But
If this room could tell stories, eh?
These rooms, almost all of them.
So for everyone, we are live from the mansion.
the Mac Mansion, yeah. But it's not as exciting these days.
It's refined and it's educated.
Yeah.
And
but there's been a lot of wrestlers through this place. A lot of wrestlers slept on this floor and different floors and different rooms, and it's cool. There's a lot of history in this house, and I always want to make sure it was comfortable for everyone. They felt at home. And the cool thing was I still have an email somewhere in my saved emails that I received from Tyler Breeze when he was like 14, and I think I'd been wrestling for like 2 or 3 years, but I was like the most popular and might have been the ECCW champ or something. And I got this email from Tyler Breeze asking about being a wrestler. And it's cool. And then, you know, you respond back, and that's great that you want to, and you should do this and that. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. I got it somewhere on
What are some of your favorite matches that you've had in your career?
I'd say the first ones that I like, my first opponent where I was like where I got it, where I was in there and I was like, it just felt really, really good, was Beckett, who did most of my training. So really nothing but love and respect for that man, and did a lot for me, made me look really, really good, and got me good and trained me good, and we made magic.
He could really go, man. He could really go.
Yeah, like literally one of the most talented to ever lace up the boots.
Fantastic.
I loved getting to wrestle Buddy Wayne,
because
I watched him growing up, and he's one of the best. He's just incredible to work with. I always loved wrestling big men. I love wrestling Juggernaut. I loved wrestling Wrathchild. love wrestling El Phantasmo. Easily some of my favorite matches are with him. I love tag teaming with Dropkick Murphy. It's always so much fun. I loved doing beauty and builds with Christina and with Drexel and Adonis. That just being in that group was a lot of fun for me. I love wrestling Jason Sullivan.
He's looking good these days, eh?
Oh yeah, he's doing great.
He's lost a lot of weight.
And then he was part of my journey in Paraguay there, and Blas Benitez in Luchando in Paraguay. That was like my arch nemesis there, and it was really cool to be a part of making his dreams come true, just of really being just accomplishing something in wrestling in a country that didn't have professional wrestling.
Paraguay.
Yes.
So is it like a lucha libre scene down there?
It's like it was more of a sort of a combination, because some of the wrestlers, there was wrestlers in Argentina and some in Chile, but not much in Paraguay. It was almost like glorified backyard. Like what they were doing was, well, they were emulating what they were watching on television, and then if they had any experience with any of the other South American
how much of an appetite was there for wrestling in a country like Paraguay, Peru? I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really. It's never resounded with me.
From what I understand, Chile had the WWE was more popular there than any of the other South American countries.
Interesting. Not many talents come out of there, though, eh?
I'm not sure what the scene is right now. Like
South America in general, I mean.
Argentina, I would say, had the most. They had like it was something to do with Titans. Mm-hmm. In the 70s, I think 70s and 80s. But it was cool because we brought the North American style.
Right. Now, when you say North American style, what particular?
Just not lucha, like the match formula, the even just the way that you work. Like there's a Mexico is like there's just it's not quite the, like, much like Japan.
It's hard style.
Japan has its own. Mexico's, lucha style, and then more the North American style, and then obviously people have combined all of them at this point. And that's great. But it's like,
well, I guess it changes from everywhere. Like even in Europe, German wrestling is very different. English wrestling,
they do the rounds.
Exactly. Yeah. North American, So you kind of brought that to them.
Yeah, and it was we made a great television show. We were there 5 months. We did 20 episodes, but it was difficult to do business. Unfortunately, there was a lot of red tape, and so I wouldn't be able to completely nail down why we didn't get a second season. But that 5 months was the best 5 months of my life, as far as like a 5 month chunk. It was where I got to do what I always wanted, which was wake up every morning and all I had to do was think about wrestling all day until I go to bed. And there was no other responsibilities. I didn't have bills to pay. I didn't have anything to worry about. It was like a 5 month dream world almost.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
very cool. It was really very cool. Where does Scotty Mac go from here now? I mean, we kind of touched on a lot here tonight. We kind of opened up the box a bit.
You know what?
After all of this,
I don't know because like I'm not done wrestling. I miss wrestling. I miss being in the ring. I miss being in front of people. I miss I want to give me a microphone. I use a microphone.
Here you go.
Give me a
That's why we did this.
I want to
Well, here you go, Scotty Mac.
no. You're gonna have to. I want a paid audience.
My man.
I want a paid
There
audience.
we go.
Get me 50 people over here, and I'll.
All right. Let's do it.
But no, I miss that. I miss showing off.
Yeah.
I miss being a jerk
Okay.
because I'm a pretty nice guy in real life. So
Yeah.
I miss being a jerk, and so I've got my Can-Am wrestling dates coming up. I'd love to work for them consistently through till winter again, and then I'm gonna do the shows in Aldergrove. I'd like to think like maybe May, June, July, August, September, depending on what happens with the mandates in Canada. That will determine where I'm working, or if I promote any shows besides the Aldergrove ones. And then, like I said, I'm doing that movie Used Mercs in June. Super stoked about that because it should be probably I think it's going to be the biggest thing I've done. I know there's more names in it than anything I've done, I think. And then I've got a movie called The Benders coming out. It's we shot in June, and it should be out later than summer on the streaming services. So I don't know if that's gonna be like Hulu or Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever, but it's with the production company's Green Apple. They've got a horror wing and then a Christian movie wing, which is an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
But it's a horror movie with wrestlers. There's a band full of wrestlers, and we get off the beaten path. I think you've probably seen a few movies like that, and you end up in a town that you don't want to be in.
No.
And
Here's a question: why just not leave once you start seeing shit's going down? Why do you guys stay?
the fucking van was broke, man. The van, we gotta fix the van. When we get the van fixed, we'll leave.
The van never got fixed.
Figure might as well take part in this backyard show while we're here, and that's where we made a mistake. I mean, I'm a bit of a glory thunder whore. That's the term. Ben's Nevada.
Yes.
Thunder whore
Or glory hog.
There we go. I don't like a hog, so
fair
whore. I'm much more of a whore than a hog.
There you go. Fair play.
Not anymore, and they never paid me.
No.
Okay, just once or twice.
So a good friend of ours is also involved with that film, eh?
Rusty Nixon, very
Mr.
talented
Rusty
fellow.
Nixon.
Yes. So
He did Candyland.
and Residue.
Residue as
Check
well.
out Residue. Go watch Residue. I got
I believe it's on
fight scene in
Netflix.
Residue. It was on the US Netflix. I'm not sure what streaming service it's on now, but that did really well. There's Candyland. And Rusty actually wrote Used Mercs.
Yeah.
And then so that's the other one. But shout out to Rusty, and I'm gonna apologize to Rusty for when I say things that upset him.
I'm sure Rusty's going to be watching.
I love you, buddy.
There you go. I had lunch with him last week and it was amazing.
I'm gonna go over to see him after this. Yeah.
Awesome. Are you going to go see him right now after this?
Yep.
Oh, maybe I'll follow you.
Okay.
We'll see. All right. Listen, brother, thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you for being our first guest.
I want to be your, I don't know, sixth guest or something too.
Fantastic.
Definitely gonna have you back. We still got a lot more to touch on.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. But hey, listen, guys, this is our very first episode. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I know there's so many options for everybody these days with everything that's out there. Thank you for letting us into your years. I'm sitting beside Scotty Mac. I got Chance Michael sitting at his house. Follow us on Twitter at Samp_Chance. There you go. A little bit of that.
Scotty Mac, you're looking bigger than ever, man. You're still training hard, eh?
Yeah. I actually am. I think I am bigger than ever.
I think your arms look bigger than I've ever seen them,
Well,
man.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna lean out a bit though before Can-Am because I can't. I'm probably about 10 pounds heavier than I usually am, and when you're in the ring, you feel that extra 10 pounds. So I'm gonna have to drop a few, at least 5 before. So I got 2 weeks.
Actually, before we end, we need to wrap this up.
Yep.
With you putting over DDP.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. Okay, cool. Good finish. Good work. First episode, you're good at this. So it's Cloverdale Fairgrounds is epic for wrestling. It's like, it's hallowed ground if there was, for as far as like, the history of wrestling in BC.
Mm-hmm.
Cloverdale Fairgrounds, but instead of the Alice McKay, we're in the Agriplex. It's a bigger show. We have Val Venus, we've got the Godfather, and just coincidentally, who turns out to be coming to town to do a DDP yoga session in Richmond, completely unrelated to our show, Diamond Dallas Page, because he's got the DDP yoga things all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. They teach and all that. And so friend of mine, Bomber, Nelson Creed, mm-hmm. He a great dude, love that guy. And excuse me, he's got a connection, a good friendship with Sean, a gentleman from Impact. Sean, he was in WWE, Canadian gentleman, TNA.
Sean Spears.
No.
Sean O'Hare?
Close.
Sorry?
Sean O'Hare?
No. Oh, geez.
Sean Starziak? I don't know.
No. Eric Young. Why did I say Sean?
Eric
Young. So Nelson Creed's got he's friends with Eric Young. Eric Young knows DDP.
Yeah.
So Nelson Creed's like, well, it wouldn't hurt. I could reach out to Eric and see if he'll talk to DDP about coming to the show, the Cloverdale show. And I'm like, oh, we'll pay him whatever he wants, within reason.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Still in the indie company. We're already,
I get you.
So DDP agrees to come to the Cloverdale Fairgrounds and do a segment where he ends up giving so Nelson Creed, he's in the ring and he's doing this thing like he's better than everybody, and here DDP's in town and DDP yoga crap, whatever. And that he's all better than DDP, whatever. And DDP's music hits. And I swear, the fans in Cloverdale, capacity crowd, fans in Cloverdale, they must have thought that it was like, do you remember when Bret Hart left WWE and then in DX, they brought out the
little person?
It's wrestling. You still call them midgets.
All right,
wrestling. It's
the little midget.
It's a midget version of Bret Hart comes out, the wig, whatever. And I bet you that's
I remember that night.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I mean, you didn't think it was gonna be Bret, but still.
No.
And so so I think that the people are expecting something like that. And because when he comes out, like when the music hits, like it wasn't that immediate, like, yeah, because
was it the
like,
cell 5-5? That
yeah, I guess it would have been. Yeah, I guess it would have been. Well, you just
I guess so.
Yeah. And I mean, if anything, it was his WCW music or something. But so DDP, he ends up coming out, and it takes them a second, and then they pop, because I swear they didn't think it was actually gonna happen. And he goes in the ring, he ends up giving Bomber Diamond Cutter and the whole deal.
Yeah.
And I'm in the back, and I'm just so overwhelmed that it's like I just had former WCW world champion gentlemen. I joined so many great men. Like he was the first guy that, as far as I was concerned, that had a great match with Goldberg. They had that main event match.
Yeah.
Where they screwed the fans and went off the air. You got to tune into Nitro to see what happened at the pay-per-view. You got to tune into free TV to see what happens on the event you paid for.
That's crazy.
You ran out of time. You're running too long.
So we end the podcast like this. I don't say the end of the story. We're out of time, folks. But no, so see, he hits the diamond cutter, and I'm in the back. And I'm just beaming, And the coolest thing was, he didn't even charge us anything.
Wow.
All we had to do was put up the video on the screen,
Yeah.
the inspirational video
Yeah.
of the paratrooper that did all those jumps that was basically couldn't walk anymore.
I seen him. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the hair on my arm standing
Yeah, yeah.
on end
Yeah.
just from talking about this.
Yeah.
And that video and all DDP cared about was obviously DDP yoga, but it's like he knows he's changing and saving lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he could have charged us, $1,000, $2,000, and it, it would have been worth it, because I just surprised my crowd with Diamond Dallas Page. They were there for Val Venus and The Godfather. We already had it full. We didn't even use DDP as a draw. I got to surprise my fans with Diamond Dallas Page, and all he did was want to show a video on how, on this inspirational story, and if you do it, you can improve your health and improve your life.
He
And
probably got paid.
Dude.
How many of those people probably went home and ordered the DDP
for sure,
package, right?
for sure. But the bottom line is,
Yeah. He didn't charge
his intention.
was pure.
Yeah, and so what a class act.
Awesome. I would say he's the catalyst for the change that happened in wrestling.
What change do you mean?
Oh, I'm not saying he's responsible for NWO or anything, but he was that catalyst that brought over Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
I always
That set it
Patrick-
up. That set it up.
Patrick and I always thought that I did not speak for him, but WCW should have stayed stronger. And I think it should have stayed. It should have been Hall, Nash, Hogan, X-Pac, DDP, Goldberg, Lex Luger, Sting as like the WCW, Team WCW.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah.
And then the Four Horsemen. So you had your baby face WCW crew, your heel WCW crew,
Yeah.
and the NWO. And that would have been three really strong factions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You wouldn't have, but instead they had NWO, either they were steamrolling you or they were joining them. By the end, there was 136
It was too
members.
diluted, man. It was
It's
too diluted.
136 members.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
Does that
too
count
diluted.
that right? It was 136?
I think it was 147.
147.
But who knows,
yeah,
right?
when they added the Wolfpack.
When they added that, then they had Japan.
Too much.
Oh, also,
Right?
Hey, the Chance isn't having any of it.
The chat,
They
no
said not too much. He just said too much.
Too
chats,
much.
man.
Too many guys,
Listen,
man.
guys, thank you so much. This has been a blast. We would love to get you back on again.
Yes.
There's so much more I want to talk to you about. Would love to get your thoughts on your entrance music and
I'd love to give my
You know,
thoughts on my entrance music.
so we'll get into
All of
that.
them.
All of them, yeah, man. So I want to get into that next time with you, and hopefully
We'll play 29 seconds of each, because I think at 30 seconds you have to start paying for the copyright.
okay, we'll do that. Easy peasy. I am Bobby Sampson, Chance Michaels. We're sitting here with the legendary Pacific Northwest legend,
Most decorated wrestler in the history of the Pacific Northwest.
Scotty Mac.
Thank you.
guys, and have a great night.
And that concludes the interview with the great Scotty Mac. That was raw, unfiltered, and uncut. Scotty told us before the podcast began, ask us anything, ask me anything you want, brothers. It's all on the table.
Yeah, and we asked him. Yeah, it was great, man. Thank you, Scotty, for being so open and so forefront with everything that we talked about. I hope this answers the questions for some of our listeners out there that had any questions. Scotty was amazing, man. But hey, that being said, Scotty is on the road this month. He's going to be doing some shows out in Alberta. It's been a while since people have seen him in the ring. Chance, do you have those dates? Do you know where he's going to be?
I sure do. You can catch Scotty Mac February 19th at the Town and Country Center, February 23rd at the Back Alley Nightclub, February 24th at the Centennial Center, February 25th at the Centennial Civic Center, and February 26th at the Cypress Center. This man loves to wrestle. Go check him out. Watch him live. He's still a hell of a performer.
Yeah, he's going to be in Calgary. He's going to be in a few different places, but all these dates are in Alberta. So if you're in those areas and if you're by those facilities, please go check it out. It's going to be an amazing night of professional wrestling every night that he's there. That being said, Chance, thank you so much for joining us today and joining me today. And I want to say thank you to all of our listeners out there. And yeah, this is just the beginning, man.
Thanks for having me on thanks for bringing me on as your co-host, Bobby. I appreciate it. We got the sky's the limit. We got a long way to go, and we're going to get there.
No, 100%. And for all those out there, you can find us at Samp_Chance on Instagram. You can find us at Samp&Chance Pod on the Facebook. So follow us, like us, and definitely give us a rating on this podcast. And there will be lots and lots more to come. Just to give you a quick rundown of things that we will be talking about. We are on the road to WrestleMania, so we will be hitting on that a little bit. As of today, there have been some amazing announcements this week for upcoming fights in the world of boxing, which we'll be touching on as well. So please stay tuned, stay connected, and thank you all for letting us into your ears. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon. Be safe and be humble.